People don't fail because they don't have talent. They don't fail because they lack potential. They fail because they get comfortable. Comfort is dangerous. It's subtle as good. It feels safe. And that's why it's a trap. The moment you feel like you made it, like you take your foot off the gas, that's when you start dying inside. That's when your hunger fades. And once the hunger fades, so does the progress. See, most people are not willing to sacrifice their comfort for their vision. They want growth, but they don't want to bleed for it. They want success, but only if it doesn't require them to feel exposed, embarrassed, or stretched beyond their limits. But if you study anyone who made it out of nothing, anyone who turned nothing into something, you'll find one thing common: they were willing to suffer, to struggle, and to be uncomfortable for long enough to evolve. When I came up, there was nothing soft about my environment. Every day was uncomfortable. Every corner you turn, it could be your last. I didn't have the luxury to wait for the perfect timing or ideal situation. And what I realized is that discomfort, that pressure, it made me sharper, it made me focus. It taught me how to move with urgency. While others were waiting for motivation to feel ready, I was already in motion, not because I felt fearless, but because I understood something deeper. Being uncomfortable was proof that I was alive and still in the fight. Comfort makes people lazy. It tricks you into thinking you're progressing when all you're really doing is circling the same habits, the same thoughts, the same routines. You're not leveling up, you're looping. You're repeating the same day over and over and calling it a life. And then 10 years go by and you wonder why nothing changed. It's because you never left your zone of familiarity. You never tested yourself against something bigger than you. You got to learn to seek discomfort, not run from it. Seek it. Because discomfort is a mirror. It reflects back all the parts of you that are still weak, still fragile, still undeveloped. And most people don't want to look in that mirror. But I'm telling you, that mirror is where your freedom begins. You don't grow through ease. You grow through resistance, through pressure, through the friction that forces you to adapt or get crushed. People look at where I am now and think it was just hustle or luck. Nah, it was the willingness to be uncomfortable longer than anyone else, to keep moving when it hurt, to stay hungry even when I had food on the table. Because comfort is seductive. It whispers in your ear that you've done enough, that you deserve to slow down. But that voice is a lie. That voice wants you weak. If you want to do something meaningful with your life, you need to learn how to breathe in discomfort and exhale progress. You need to make that feeling your home. Because the people who win in this life, they don't avoid discomfort. They master it. They weaponize it. They turn pain into focus and uncertainty into strategy. Everybody's talking online, offline. Everywhere you look, it's noise. People explaining why they're not where they want to be, justifying their setbacks, telling long stories about what they're about to do. But here's the truth, and it might sting a little. Nobody cares what you say you're going to do. All they care about is what you actually do. That's the difference between talkers and movers. That's what separates potential from power, execution. One of the most dangerous habits people fall into is over-explaining, over-justifying. You get caught trying to convince people of your worth, your talent, your intentions. You want to be understood, validated, applauded before you've even put in the work. But I'll tell you what I learned the hard way. The more time you spend explaining, the less time you spend building. Every second you spend trying to get someone to see your vision is a second you're not realizing that vision. When I came into the game, I didn't try to convince anybody I was the best. I didn't beg for a seat at the table. I created momentum. I moved. I dropped mixtapes. I flooded the streets. I built leverage through execution. So when people finally looked up and said, "Who is this guy?" I already had the catalog, the numbers, the proof. I didn't explain. I delivered. People think the world works on fairness. They think if they're talented enough, people will just notice and hand them opportunities. But the game doesn't reward potential. It rewards results. And results don't come from talking. They come from relentless, disciplined, consistent action, even when no one's watching, especially when no one's watching. That's where real power is built. In silence, in obscurity, when you're up at 3 a.m. working on your craft while the rest of the world sleeps, when you're making sacrifices, skipping parties, ignoring distractions, staying locked in. And when you finally show up, people don't ask you to explain. They see it, they feel it, because execution is undeniable. There's also a psychological element to this. The more you talk about your goals without acting, the more your brain starts to think you've already done the work. That's dangerous. You get a fake sense of achievement. But success doesn't come from fantasizing. It comes from repetition, from movement, from failing forward 100 times until the thing is done. And understand this, when you execute, you control the narrative. You don't need to defend yourself because the evidence speaks, your results become your voice. Your work becomes your identity. And that's when things shift, when people start to ask how you did it instead of doubting that you could. So stop wasting breath trying to prove you're serious. Just be serious. You don't need to tweet about a grind. Just grind. Don't announce every goal. Just hit it. Let them find out when they see the product, when they see the transformation, when they see you standing exactly where you said you would be. Most people are running from their pain like it's some kind of disease. They try to numb it, avoid it, pretend it never happened. But what they don't understand is pain is not your enemy. Pain is your fuel. Pain is your greatest teacher. It's life's most honest feedback. And if you're willing to face it instead of flee from it, it can become your most powerful advantage. Look, I've been through some real shot. I've been shot. I've been betrayed. I've been broke, counted out, underestimated by everybody. People I fed turned their backs. You think that didn't hurt? Of course it did. But I didn't let that pain bury me. I let it shape me. I studied it. I used it. I let it harden my mind, sharpen my instincts, and make me relentless. That's the real test. Not whether you've been through hell, but what you do with it. The difference between people who stay stuck and people who evolve comes down to this. Some people use pain as an excuse. Others use it as motivation. And the ones who win, they choose to make pain their responsibility, not their identity. They don't let their trauma define them. They let it drive them. See, pain has information in it. It tells you where you're weak, where you're too soft, where your expectations didn't match reality. But most people don't want to hear that. They'd rather lie to themselves than confront the truth about why things hurt. But the truth is where all the growth is. You can't heal from what you're not willing to face. The world's not going to adjust itself to make you feel better. You have to adjust your mindset to deal with the world. If you think you can succeed without getting scarred up, you're delusional. Life doesn't work like that. Life will gut check you. It'll put pressure on you. And it's supposed to. That pressure is how diamonds are made. That pain is how greatness is born. You can't fake strength. You can't fake resilience. You have to earn it. You have to bleed for it. And that's what pain gives you, a chance to become something real, something solid. Every scar I've got is a story, a lesson, a reason why I don't flinch when things get hard now, because I've been through worse and I kept going. Some of you are sitting in your pain right now thinking it's the end, thinking it broke you. Nah, it's not the end. It's just a chapter. And what you do with it next will decide how the story finishes. You can either keep replaying the same moment, living like a victim, or you can take everything you felt, everything you lost, and turn it into a force nobody saw coming. Pain is a gift if you stop resenting it. It wakes you up. It burns away the unnecessary. It shows you what actually matters. And if you pay attention, it gives you a blueprint for who you need to become. So stop hiding from your pain. Stop numbing it with distraction. Sit with it. Study it. Learn how to use it like a weapon. Because the truth is, the most unstoppable people you know didn't avoid the fire. They walked through it and came out forged. People let their emotions run their lives. That's the truth. They wake up tired, so they don't work. They get disappointed, so they give up. Someone doesn't support them, so they start doubting themselves. One bad day and they're ready to throw the whole dream away. That's how most people live, emotionally reactive instead of strategically disciplined. And if you live like that, you'll never be in control. You'll always be at the mercy of how you feel, not what you want. But listen, your feelings aren't facts. They're just signals, temporary waves. You can't build a life on waves. You build it on rock, on structure, on principle. And the one thing that separates high performers from everyone else is simply they move with discipline, not emotion. I learned this early growing up. I couldn't afford to act based on how I felt. I had to act based on what the situation required. If I was scared, I still had to move. If I was tired, I still had to hustle. If I was angry, I had to channel it. Because in the street or in the boardroom, the moment your emotions take control, you lose. You get distracted. You make choices that feel good now, but cost you everything later. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. It's getting up early when your body says stress. It's showing up focused when your mind says quit. It's putting the reps in when no one's clapping. And it's hard, yeah, but that's why most people won't do it. They want the results of discipline, well, not the lifestyle of it. But let me tell you something, the life you want is on the other side of that resistance. Every time you push past how you feel and choose the action that aligns with your values, you get stronger, more focused, more dangerous. You build something inside yourself that no emotion can shake. That's how you develop presence, grit, consistency. It doesn't come from motivation. It comes from mastery over self. Now, I'm not saying you ignore emotions. Emotions are real, but they're not the driver. They're the dashboard. They give you feedback, not direction. You can feel fear, but still move forward. You can feel discouraged, but still show up. You can be overwhelmed and still execute the plan. Because discipline doesn't ask how you feel. It just asks what needs to be done. This is psychological warfare. The battle is internal every day. Your emotions will try to negotiate your standards down. They'll tempt you to do less, rest more, accept average. But that's the moment you lean in and do it anyway. That's how you separate yourself. That's how you build a mindset that doesn't flinch under pressure. And the best part, the more you practice discipline, the less you depend on motivation. You don't need to be in the right mood to be productive. You become the kind of person who just executes. Cold, clean, deliberate. You start to respect yourself on a whole new level, and that self-respect is worth more than any emotional high. So if you want to win, really win. Stop negotiating with your emotions. Start training yourself to act based on your purpose, not your feelings. Most people are trying to build a life with broken tools. They got dreams, but their mind is fragile. They want success, but the moment something doesn't go their way, they fall apart. That's not a foundation. That's a setup for failure, because life is going to test you. It's going to hit you with setbacks, pressure, and loss. And if your mind isn't solid, if you haven't trained it to withstand the storm, you'll fold every time. That's why I keep saying you need to build a mind that can't be broken. This isn't about being emotionless. It's about being unshakable. There's a difference. A strong mind doesn't mean you don't feel pain. It means you don't panic when pain shows up. It means you've built mental habits that hold you up when everything else is falling down. Because when the pressure rises, you don't rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your preparation. That's where mindset comes in. I had to train my mind out of necessity. Growing up where I did, weakness got exploited. If you hesitated, if you showed fear, if you looked unsure, it was over. So I developed a way of thinking that didn't flinch. I didn't have a choice. But now I see people living comfortable lives and still letting fear control them, still letting doubt paralyze them. And it's because they've never taken the time to train their mind. They train their body. They chase money. They read self-help quotes. But they've never sat with themselves long enough to build mental clarity and strength. They let outside noise become internal chaos. They let other people's opinions rewrite their identity. That's how you get lost. That's how you lose control. When your mind isn't yours anymore, you need to build a fortress inside your own head, a place no one can touch. Not your past, not your haters, not your fears, not even your own insecurities. You build it by feeding your mind the right things, by cutting out distractions, by facing hard truths, by developing emotional control, and most importantly, by doing hard things on purpose so your mind gets used to discomfort. Mental toughness is built in the moments when it would be easier to break, but you don't. When you want to quit, but you keep going. When you get hit with failure, but you don't let it define you. That's how you build confidence, not through success, but through resilience. Confidence isn't pretending everything's perfect. It's knowing that even if it's not, you're still good. You're still focused. You're still in the game. You have to become your own anchor, your own compass, because the world will pull you in 100 directions. If your identity is built on attention, applause, or validation, you're always going to be chasing something. But if your mind is built from the inside out, no one can take it from you. You don't break, you adapt, you don't collapse, you calculate. This is a long game. The people who last, who thrive through chaos, setbacks, and change, they've built a mind that's disciplined, focused, and resilient. They don't react to pressure. They respond with precision. That's not luck. That's strategy. That's inner engineering. So stop waiting for peace to come from the outside. Build it within. Train your mind to be your strongest asset, not your biggest liability. Because when your mind is unbreakable, the world can throw whatever it wants at you, and you'll still move forward. Calm, clear, untouchable. One of the biggest lies people believe is that they need permission to be great. That's someone out there, some gatekeeper, some authority, some influencer is going to validate them, endorse them, open the door and say, okay, now you can go chase your dreams. That's a trap. That mindset will keep you stuck forever, because the truth is nobody is coming to save you. Nobody's handing out passes. If you want to win, you have to take it. I never waited for permission. I didn't sit around hoping someone would discover me. I moved like I already belonged, like I already knew who I was, even when nobody else did. That's the difference between people who try and people who become. The ones who try are always hesitating, always seeking approval. But the ones who become, they decide, they move. They show up before the world's ready for them. Look, the system isn't designed to elevate you. It's designed to test you, to see if you're really about what you say you want. Every obstacle, every delay, every rejection, that's not a wall. That's a mirror. It's asking, how bad do you want it? And if your answer is only if it's easy, then you already lost. Most people don't start because they're waiting for the stars to align, waiting for someone to give them a shot. But what they don't realize is the shot is already there. It's in their hands, it's in the work, it's in the audacity to move forward, even when no one believes, no one claps, no one understands. That's the moment you separate yourself, not when things are perfect, but when you create momentum anyway. I've seen it 1,000 times. People with talent, vision, and potential stuck in place because they're afraid of stepping outside the lines, afraid of what people will say, afraid of failing in public. But here's the thing, if you need someone else to believe in you more than you believe in yourself, you'll always be a follower. You'll never lead your own life. You'll just react to what's given instead of creating what's possible. There is no blueprint for your life, no step-by-step guide, no guarantees. You create the path by walking it, by trying, failing, adjusting, and pushing again. That's how power is built, through action, not permission. And don't confuse acceptance with validation. Just because people don't understand you doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It might mean your head. It might mean you're onto something bigger than what they can comprehend. That's when you double down, not pull back. You have to develop a mindset that says, I don't need anyone to choose me. I choose myself. That's not arrogance. That's clarity. It's ownership. And it's necessary because in a world full of noise, full of opinions and criticism and fear-based thinking, the only way you move forward is if you claim your own power and act like you deserve to be here. Not one day, not eventually. Now, most people are walking through life playing defense, reacting, apologizing for who they are, shrinking themselves to make others comfortable. They edit their dreams, dilute their ambition, and hold back their voice because they're afraid of how the world might respond. They've been conditioned to believe that they need permission to be bold, to be brilliant, to be fully seen. But the truth is, you don't owe anyone an explanation for your ambition, and you damn sure don't need permission to take up space. This world is built by people who move with conviction. People who don't flinch when the room doesn't clap. People who know who they are before the world catches up. That's the edge. If you need applause to move, you'll stay stuck every time someone boosts. If your identity depends on who's validating you, you'll keep reinventing yourself just to fit in, when what you really need to do is stand the hell out. When I was coming up, I didn't ask anybody if I could be successful. I didn't wait for the music industry to tell me I was good enough. I didn't need a cosign from the radio or a check mark on social media. I showed up like I belonged. I put in the work. I let the grind speak. And when the gatekeepers finally took notice, I already had leverage. I had the product, the brand, the name. Why? Because I built it when no one was watching. I built it without needing a stamp of approval. Too many people are stuck waiting for someone to green greenlight their vision. They wait for their friends to support them, their family to understand them, their boss to give them the opportunity. But here's the reality. If you're waiting for someone to give you power, you'll never have it. Power isn't given. It's created. It's claimed. You have to walk like you already own the room. Even if you're still building the walls, that doesn't mean you fake confidence. It means you stop asking for acceptance. You stop looking around for signs that it's okay to go after what you want. You stop explaining your moves to people who've never built anything. Because here's what happens when you're that way. You stop wasting energy. You stop second guessing yourself. You get laser focused. You build real momentum. And once you get momentum, you become undeniable. People always have something to say. Some will hate. Some will laugh. Some will ignore you. But none of that matters if you've already decided who you are. If your self-worth is internal, the outside world becomes background noise. You're not playing the game to be liked. You're playing it to win. The moment you stop apologizing for your ambition, you unlock a whole new level of clarity and power. That's when your vision sharpens, your movement gets cleaner, your discipline increases. You're no longer driven by fear, you're driven by purpose. So here's the truth. Nobody's going to hand you permission to be great. You're not going to get a letter in the mail that says, it's your time. You make it your time. You decide. You move forward without approval. You start waiting to be chosen and start choosing yourself. People love to complain. They'll tell you how unfair life is, how no one helped them, how the system is rigged. They'll sit around for years talking about what went wrong and who's to blame. But here's the truth, and it's not easy to swallow. Nobody cares. The world isn't going to stop and cry for you. It doesn't pause you because you feel like you deserve a better hand. If you want something, you have to get up and go get it without excuses, without pity, without waiting. That's the mindset I had to adopt early. No one was coming to rescue me. I didn't have a rich uncle. I didn't have a backup plan. I had hunger and I had drive. That's it. And the moment I realized that complaining wouldn't feed me, wouldn't protect me, wouldn't build anything, I cut it off. Cold. Because every second you spend complaining is a second you're not creating. Every breath you waste blaming others is energy you could use to solve your problem. See, complaining is seductive. It gives you the illusion of control. You think, if I can explain why things aren't working, then I don't have to change. But the truth is, you either own your life or your life owns you. There's no in between. Blame is a defense mechanism. It's how people protect themselves from the hard truth that they're not doing the work. It's easier to point fingers than to build discipline, easier to criticize than to construct. But you can't complain your way into success. You can't cry your way into wealth. You grind your way into it. Let me tell you something, life owes you nothing. It doesn't care if you're talented. If you had a rough childhood, people doubted you. Success doesn't respond to victimhood. It responds to persistence, to clarity, to the one who shows up every day regardless of how they feel, who supports them, or what odds they're facing. That's what separates winners from whiners. Winners don't talk about why it's hard. They talk about how they're going to overcome it. When I got shot 9 times, people thought that would be the end of me. They expected me to disappear, to fade out, to become a cautionary tale. But I didn't let it break me. I used it. I used every ounce of pain, every setback, every betrayal as motivation. I didn't sit in a room feeling sorry for myself. I got to work because I knew something most people ignore. The world only respects results. You want to change your life. Don't tell me how unfair it is. Show me what you're doing about it. Show me the action. Show me the sacrifice. Show me that you want it bad enough to stop whining and start building. Because no matter how justified your complaints are, they won't change your circumstances. Only your decisions will. That's the shift. That's where the power comes in, when you stop giving energy to what's wrong and start investing into what's next. You take accountability, even for things that aren't your fault. Not because you're to blame, but because that's where your power is. When you own the problem, you own the solution.